All right, let's talk about Etsy. It feels like the creative marketplace is in the middle of a huge transformation, right? We're talking a new CEO, a massive push into AI, and some really big shifts in how sellers and buyers are using the platform. So what's the deal? What does it all mean for you? And let's just cut right to the chase with the one question that seems to be on everyone's mind. And yeah, this is a real quote from a user on Reddit. For what feels like forever, both buyers and sellers have been talking about how frustrating the search results can be. But lately, something feels different. We're going to dig in and see if this shift is for real, who it's helping, and who it might be leaving in the dust.
And you know where a huge shift like this starts? It starts right at the very top. Etsy's gearing up for a major change in leadership, and it's setting the stage for a completely new chapter. So after almost 9 years at the helm, CEO Josh Silverman is stepping aside. I mean, this is the guy who led Etsy through a huge turnaround and then that massive pandemic boom. Taking his place is Kruti Patel Goyal, who's been with the company for 15 years and, get this, was the one who recently supercharged growth over at Depop. This isn't some sudden shakeup. It's a very deliberate handoff. And it's not just about a new name on the door. It's a huge signal about where Etsy's priorities are headed.
And you don't have to take my word for it. In his own statement, Silverman basically lays out the entire roadmap. He calls this a new phase for Etsy, one where artificial intelligence isn't just a background tool anymore. No, it's becoming the absolute core of the entire shopping experience. Previously unimaginable. Those are some big words.
Okay, so that's the big vision. But what do the numbers say? Let's take a quick look at the company's financial health, see how things are actually going. So the big top-line number? It's actually looking pretty solid. Gross merchandise sales, that's just the total value of everything sold across their platforms, hit $2.72 billion. Now, that's a small bump, less than 1%, but it shows a return to growth, which is a really good sign of stability after all that post-pandemic chaos.
But here's where it gets interesting. While the total amount of money being spent is up, the actual number of people shopping has dropped by 5%. So think about that. They're making a little more money from a few less people. How is that possible?
Well, this chart tells the whole story. It's really a tale of two different marketplaces. That overall growth we saw, it's almost all being driven by Depop, the fashion resale app that Etsy owns. Depop saw this explosive, nearly 40% growth. Meanwhile, the main Etsy marketplace itself actually saw a small dip of 2.4%, and that really puts the pressure on the core Etsy platform to innovate.
So given all this, what's a seller supposed to do? Well, it turns out there's a whole new playbook emerging for how to really win on the platform right now.
A lot of the top sellers are getting really sophisticated. They're using this tiered discount strategy that kind of follows you on your shopping journey. It starts with a general sale, the hook, to just get you in the door. Then if you favored an item, you get a slightly better offer, the nudge. And finally, if you actually add something to your cart, boom, you get the best deal of all, the closer, that final little push to get you to buy. It's pretty smart.
And Etsy ads have gotten a major overhaul too. Now, as a seller, you can pick from 3 really clear goals. You can go aggressive and just try to increase orders, which is perfect if you're a new shop or it's the holiday season. You can play it safe and balance orders and return for that steady, efficient growth. Or you can focus purely on profit with increased return, which means fewer sales, but you make more on each one. It gives sellers way more control.
Okay, so we've got new leadership, this big AI focus, new tools for sellers. But what about the most important person here, the buyer? Is the experience actually getting any better on the other side of the screen? For some people, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. I mean, look at this comment. This buyer is thrilled. They're saying they are finally getting search results that make sense, that are original, and they're finding these amazing shops with tons of great reviews that they'd never even seen before. For them, it sounds like that so-called SEO hell is definitely over.
But, and there's always a but, it is not a party for everyone. Here's a fine jewelry seller with the complete opposite experience. They had a record-breaking month in April, and ever since the changes kicked in, they say sales have been abysmal. It's just a stark reminder that whenever an algorithm changes, there are always going to be winners and losers.
So, what's next? Where does Etsy go from here? Well, it looks like the company is placing 2 really big bets on the future, diving even deeper into AI and making a major push to build customer loyalty.
First, there's this new term you're going to hear a lot, agentic commerce. The idea here is that in the future, you won't just go to a website to search for things. You'll just ask your AI assistant, like ChatGPT, to find and even buy stuff for you. And get this, Etsy is OpenAI's first live partner for this.
You can actually buy something from Etsy right inside a chat. It's a bet on a totally new way of shopping. The second big bet is on loyalty. And remember how we saw that the number of active buyers was down a bit? Well, this is Etsy's answer. Instead of trying to get everybody, they're focusing on rewarding their best customers to keep them coming back. They're testing this insider program with perks like special offers, shipping discounts, and even 5% back in Etsy credit on every single purchase. And all of this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question. Etsy's whole mission, their whole brand, is built on this idea to keep commerce human. But as AI gets smarter, as personalization gets deeper, and as these AI agents start doing our shopping for us, can the platform really hold on to that human connection at its core? Can an algorithm truly replace the story behind a handmade item? That right there is the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunity in Etsy's next chapter.